Are humans really so dangerous? She warned them not to provoke one. The Grand Council chamber stretched vast and circular, with seats arranged in rising tiers around a central platform. Representatives from 47 different species filled those seats, their forms ranging from insectoid to crystalline, from aquatic beings in pressurized tanks to energy-based life forms contained in specialized fields. At the center platform stood Ambassador Valera, her slender frame and pale blue skin marking her as Thalson, one of the galaxy's most respected diplomatic species. Valera's hands trembled slightly as she activated the holographic display. She had spent 3 years on Earth and its colonies, studying humanity in preparation for their formal introduction to galactic society. What she had learned kept her awake at night. "Honored council members," she began, her voice carrying through the translation systems, "I stand before you to present my findings on the species called humans. I must urge extreme caution in our dealings with them." Counselor Dravik, a massive reptilian being whose species had conquered 12 star systems through military might, leaned forward with a toothy grin. His scales gleamed dark green under the chamber lights, and his yellow eyes held barely concealed mockery. "Ambassador Valera," Dravik said, his voice deep and gravelly, "we have reviewed your preliminary data. Humans appear to be one of the most unremarkable species we have encountered. They have no natural armor, no venomous capabilities, no enhanced strength. Their technology is adequate but not exceptional. Why should we fear them?" The council watched with varying degrees of interest. "What you see here," Valera explained, "is a pattern that repeats throughout human history. When threatened, when protecting something they value, humans become something different. Something dangerous." It showed a human mother lifting a vehicle off her trapped child, a feat that should have been physically impossible for her species. "These are not their warriors," Valera continued. "These are ordinary humans performing extraordinary actions when circumstances demand it. They call it adrenaline, a chemical response that temporarily enhances their physical capabilities, but it is more than that. It is their capacity to push beyond normal limits when something they care about is at stake. This is not unique. They respond with the same intensity when protecting strangers, when defending abstract concepts like justice or freedom, when fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves." This time it showed human history, their rise from primitive tribes to spacefaring civilization. The timeline was shockingly short by galactic standards, and it was marked by constant conflict. "In their recorded history alone," Valera said, "humans have fought over 14,000 documented wars. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their own planet multiple times over. Yet they also created art, music, literature celebrating peace and compassion. They are a species of contradictions. But observe what happens when they face an external threat. When threatened from outside," Valera explained, "humans unify with remarkable speed. Their internal conflicts become irrelevant. They call it putting aside differences. We have no equivalent concept because most species never fight their own kind with such intensity in the first place." She pulled up more data, human exploration records, their expansion into their own solar system, their early colonial efforts. "Humans reached spacefaring capability only 300 years ago," she said. "In that time, they have established 42 colonies across 17 systems. They did this with technology we would consider primitive. They did it through sheer determination, accepting casualty rates that would cause most species to abandon such efforts entirely. I have walked among humans," Valera continued, her voice softer now. "I have observed their families, their communities, their cultures. They are capable of great kindness, remarkable creativity, and deep compassion. But I have also studied their history, their psychology, their capacity for violence when they believe it necessary. They have a saying, Speak softly and carry a big stick. It means approach with peace but be prepared for war. However, I believe you have become too close to your subjects. You see threats where none exist. My people have decided to establish a protection arrangement with the human mining colony on Kepler 442b. We will offer them the benefit of our strength and security in exchange for reasonable compensation. Please, I beg you to reconsider. 32 members approved Dravik's plan, seeing it as a harmless way to assess human responses. 15 abstained, uncertain but unwilling to oppose Dravik's powerful species. As the session ended, Valera gathered her materials with shaking hands. She had tried to warn them. She had shown them everything she could about human nature, human history, human capabilities. They had not listened. She could only hope that the price of that mistake would not be too high. 3 massive warships emerged from hyperspace above Kepler 442b, their dark hulls bristling with weapon arrays. Commander Thrax stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, watching the small human mining colony below with satisfaction. The settlement called New Horizon looked fragile from orbit, a collection of habitat domes, processing facilities, and landing pads carved into the reddish soil of the planet's northern continent. Begin descent, Thrax ordered, his thick tail swishing behind him. All warriors to battle stations. I want an impressive showing. His species had used this approach on 40 different worlds. None had ever resisted. At the colony's main administrative building, Maria Chen stood at the observation window, watching the alien vessels land in the open area outside the perimeter fence. She was 53 years old, with gray streaking through her black hair and laugh lines around her eyes. She had been colony administrator for 6 years, overseeing a population of 820 miners, scientists, engineers, and their families. Sarah, get the children to the shelters, Maria said calmly into her communicator. Medical teams on standby, everyone else, normal protocols. No one does anything provocative. Ma'am, should we contact Earth? Thrax emerged first, his form imposing in the afternoon light. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scaled body thick with muscle, his clawed hands resting on the weapons at his belt. Behind him marched 50 warriors, each armed and armored, each trained for combat from childhood. Maria walked out to meet them, accompanied only by David and 2 security officers. She wore simple work clothes and carried no weapons. The contrast between the 2 groups could not have been more stark. Welcome to New Horizon, Maria said in clear, measured tones. The translation device on her collar converted her words into the Dravik language. I am Administrator Maria Chen. How can we help you today? In exchange for our security services, you will provide us with monthly shipments of refined minerals from your operations. You will also grant us access to your technology databases and acknowledge Dravik authority over this system. When Thrax finished, she nodded politely. Thank you for the offer, Commander, she said. However, we must respectfully decline. New Horizon is an independent human colony operating under Earth's charter. We have no authority to agree to such arrangements. If you wish to establish diplomatic relations, I can provide you with the proper channels through Earth's government. Show them we are serious. The humans scattered, running for cover, their shouts of alarm echoing across the settlement. Thrax watched the chaos with satisfaction. Now do you understand? She spoke quietly into her communicator, her words too soft for the Dravik to hear clearly. Protocol 7. Confirm all personnel are secure. Send the message. They set up weapons emplacements and communication jammers. 6 colonists, including 2 engineers and a doctor, were brought to the Dravik ships as guests to ensure cooperation. Maria was escorted to Thrax's command center, a temporary structure the Dravik had assembled near their ships. You will begin loading the first shipment tomorrow, Thrax informed her. Your people will cooperate or your guests will become prisoners. Do you understand? By the time any response arrives, this will be settled. The first arrived at Earth's Diplomatic Corps headquarters, where it triggered immediate emergency protocols. The second reached a private security contractor station in the Centauri system. The third found its way to Ambassador Velira's private communication terminal. Velira read the message with growing dread. New Horizon had been occupied. Humans were being held. Demands had been made. She immediately tried to contact Counselor Dravik, but his office refused to put her through. She sent urgent messages to other council members, but most were already in transit or unavailable. She sat alone in her quarters, staring at the message display. In her 3 years among humans, she had learned one thing above all others. Humans did not abandon their own. They did not forget when others were threatened. They did not forgive those who harmed innocents. "Thrax, you fool," she whispered to the empty room. "You have no idea what you have started." They appeared defeated, resigned to their situation. The warriors relaxed slightly, confident in their victory. None of them noticed the small changes in the colony's routine, the way certain workers moved through areas with deliberate patterns. The coded messages hidden in normal work reports. The quiet gathering of information about Dravik patrol schedules, equipment locations, and communication frequencies. Maria Chen sat in her office that night, reviewing data on her personal terminal. Outside her window, Dravik guards patrolled in predictable intervals. She made notes, careful and precise, recording everything. In 3 days, a new message arrived from Earth. It contained only 2 words: "Help coming." The Dravik had made their choice. Now they would learn why Ambassador Velira had tried so hard to warn them. The count began, and somewhere in the darkness between stars, ships were already moving. 7 days passed since the Dravik occupation began. Commander Thrax sat in his command center, reviewing reports with growing satisfaction. The human colonists had proven easy to control. They worked when ordered, kept their heads down, and caused no trouble. The mineral shipments were being prepared on schedule. His warriors had grown comfortable in their positions, establishing routines and patrol patterns. Perhaps Ambassador Velira was wrong about these humans, Thrax said to his second-in-command, a scarred veteran named Krell. They submit like any other weak species. Her people are miners and scientists, not warriors. She learned that their communication systems operated on specific frequencies that could be jammed with modified mining equipment. She learned that Dravik had excellent straight-line vision but poor peripheral awareness. She learned that they relied heavily on their physical strength and rarely expected tactical creativity from opponents. Every piece of information was carefully documented and transmitted through hidden channels the Dravik had not discovered. The colony's communication array appeared disabled, but beneath the surface, quantum-encrypted messages flowed to destinations across nearby star systems. In the residential sections, colonists continued their lives under supervision. Children attended classes in the shelters. Workers operated the mining equipment and processing facilities. Medical staff treated minor injuries. Everything appeared normal, defeated, resigned. But in quiet moments, messages passed between trusted individuals. A maintenance worker would whisper to an engineer. A teacher would share information with a doctor. Slowly, carefully, the colonists prepared for something their captors could not imagine. 3 ships moved through the darkness of space, running silent with all non-essential systems powered down. They maintained course toward Kepler 442b, traveling on trajectories calculated to avoid Dravik sensor sweeps. To any casual observer, they would appear to be asteroids or space debris, nothing worth investigating. Aboard the lead vessel, Captain Sarah Okonkwo reviewed the tactical data her team had assembled. She was 42 years old, with close-cropped black hair and eyes that had seen more combat than most people could imagine. She had served in Earth's planetary defense forces for 15 years before retiring to private security work. When the call came about New Horizon, she volunteered immediately. "Status report," Sarah said to her crew. Lieutenant Marcus Webb, her tactical officer, pulled up the holographic display. "We have complete layout of the Dravik positions, courtesy of Administrator Chen. 3 ships, 50 warriors plus support staff. Standard occupation pattern. They have grown predictable. And our people, they are ready to assist." All had responded to the same call. Humans were in danger and help was needed. "Commander Chen suggests we begin at 300 colony time," Marcus continued. "Guard change happens at 3:15. Minimal light, maximum fatigue for the Dravik warriors. Distribute the full tactical plan to all teams. We run through scenarios for the next 12 hours. I want everyone to know their role perfectly. No mistakes, no unnecessary risks." She had done operations like this before, but never against an alien species. The principles remained the same though: know your enemy, use your advantages, and act with precision. On Kepler 442b, Ambassador Valera's ship entered orbit. She had finally received clearance from the Galactic Council to visit the colony as an observer. Thrax was not pleased about her presence, but he could not refuse without creating diplomatic complications. Valera landed at the colony and was immediately escorted to meet with Thrax. She looked around at the occupied settlement, seeing Dravik warriors everywhere and colonists moving quietly under guard. "Ambassador," Thrax greeted her with false warmth. "As you can see, the situation is well in hand. The humans understand their new position. You will see that she is unharmed and cooperative." "Administrator Chen," Valera said formally, "I have come to assess the situation and ensure your people's welfare. Though we would prefer to return to normal operations." "Commander Thrax," Valera said, turning to the Dravik leader, "I must urge you again to reconsider this occupation. Release these people and withdraw. It is not too late to resolve this peacefully." "Ambassador, your warnings have been noted and dismissed. These humans will learn to accept Dravik authority. That is final." She looked at Maria one last time, and something passed between them, an understanding, a shared knowledge of what was coming. That evening, Valera returned to her ship in orbit. She sent a coded message to certain contacts on the Galactic Council, informing them that she would remain in the system to observe whatever happened next. She suspected it would be significant. In the colony below, Maria received a final message through her hidden communication device. 3 words appeared on the small screen: 12 hours, stay low. They looked confident, comfortable, completely unprepared for what dawn would bring. Maria thought about Captain Okonkwo and the team coming to help. She thought about her colonists, who had endured this occupation with remarkable courage. She thought about Thrax and his warriors, who had no idea what humans were capable of when pushed too far. "You were warned," she whispered to the darkness. "Ambassador Valera tried to tell you. In 12 hours, the Dravik would learn exactly why you should never provoke humans." The clock in Maria's quarters showed 2:45. She woke before her alarm, her body tense with anticipation. Outside her window, 2 Dravik guards walked their patrol route, exactly on schedule. She had watched them make this same walk 53 times over the past week. They never varied their pattern, never checked their surroundings carefully, never imagined that anyone would challenge them. Maria dressed quietly in dark clothing and waited. At 300, her communicator vibrated once, the signal she had been waiting for. She moved to her door and listened. The usual sounds of the occupied colony at night: generator hums, distant guard conversations, the occasional clank of equipment. Then slowly, those sounds began to change. 3 kilometers above the colony, Captain Sarah Okonkwo's team separated into their assigned units. They had practiced this operation 16 times during the approach. Every member knew their role, their timing, their backup plans. The ships remained in high orbit, using the planet's magnetic field to mask their signatures while teams descended in small, silent drop pods. The pods landed in the rocky hills surrounding the colony, barely making a sound. 24 operators emerged, dressed in adaptive camouflage that shifted to match the terrain. They carried non-lethal weapons primarily, stun devices, electromagnetic disruptors, chemical agents designed to incapacitate without causing permanent harm. Sarah had been clear, this was a rescue operation, not a revenge mission. All teams check in, Sarah whispered into her tactical communicator. One by one, responses came back. Everyone was in position. The colony lay spread before them, lit by work lights and the glow from Dravik equipment. 50 warriors occupied the settlement, confident in their superiority, unaware that they were being watched by eyes trained in patience and precision. "Execute on my mark," Sarah said. "Remember, we protect our people first. Everything else is secondary, mark." Modified mining equipment, secretly reprogrammed over the past week, activated and flooded the frequencies with electromagnetic interference. The Dravik communication system went dark instantly. At Post 7 on the colony's eastern perimeter, a Dravik warrior named Grask stood guard, bored and tired at the end of his shift. He never saw the human operator who approached from his blind spot, moving with practiced silence. A device attached to his armor and a pulse of energy flooded his nervous system. Grask collapsed without making a sound, unconscious but unharmed. The same scene repeated at 18 different guard positions around the colony. Human operators moved like shadows, using the terrain, the darkness, and their intimate knowledge of Dravik patrol patterns. One by one, perimeter guards fell, their absence unnoticed because their communication system was jammed. Inside the colony, Maria heard footsteps approaching her door. She tensed, ready for anything. The door opened quietly. A figure in dark tactical gear stood there, face obscured but voice familiar from their message exchanges. "Administrator Chen, I am Lieutenant Webb. We are here to extract you and your people. Are you ready? Medical staff are prepared to assist with evacuation." A former Earth defense soldier disabled motion sensors. An ex-security officer cut power to Dravik equipment. A retired combat medic prepared to treat any injuries. This was not a civilian population cowering in fear. This was a community of humans who had been preparing, planning, and waiting for the right moment to act. Commander Thrax woke to chaos. His communication system was dead. Emergency alarms blared from multiple locations. He rushed to the command center, still pulling on his armor, to find his staff in confusion. "Report," he roared. "Sir, we have lost contact with perimeter posts," one officer said frantically. "Internal communications are jammed. We are receiving reports of intruders, but..." They wore no identifying marks, carried advanced equipment, and moved with the coordination of trained soldiers. "Impossible," Thrax breathed. "They are miners, scientists. Where did they get warriors?" "Commander, humans do not abandon their own. These are not colonists. This is a rescue force." Sarah Okonkwo led the extraction team personally, moving through the vessel with practiced efficiency. They encountered Dravik warriors attempting to form defensive lines. Each confrontation lasted seconds. Stun grenades disoriented the guards. Electromagnetic pulses disabled their shields. Non-lethal rounds dropped them before they could effectively respond. The 6 hostages were found in a secured compartment, frightened but unharmed. Sarah's team quickly moved them out while covering forces held the route secure. "Extraction team status," Sarah called through the tactical network. "All hostages secured," came the response. "Moving to Rally Point Alpha." No casualties reported. Not a single colonist had been seriously hurt. Most Dravik warriors had been neutralized without lethal force. She made her way to where Thrax had been cornered by her team. The massive Dravik commander stood surrounded, his weapons taken, his armor displaying scorch marks from stun rounds. He looked at Sarah with a mixture of rage and disbelief. "Who are you?" he demanded. Sarah removed her helmet, meeting his eyes directly. She was half his size, seemingly fragile by Dravik standards, but her expression carried absolute authority. "Captain Sarah Okonkwo, formerly of Earth Planetary Defense," she said calmly. "You were warned, Commander. Ambassador Valera tried to tell you. But you did not listen. When you believe that physical strength makes you superior." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to something cold and hard. "You were warned not to provoke us. You chose not to listen. Now you understand why." Around the colony, his warriors were being gathered, disarmed, and held under guard. The occupation that had seemed so secure hours ago had collapsed completely, and it had been done by beings he had dismissed as weak and harmless. Above the planet, Ambassador Valera watched the operation's conclusion on her monitors. She felt no satisfaction, only sadness at the price of ignorance. She had tried to warn them. She had shown them what humans were capable of. But some lessons, it seemed, could only be learned through experience. The morning sun rose over New Horizon, casting golden light across the colony. The scene was remarkably peaceful considering what had happened just hours before. Dravik warriors sat in organized groups under guard, their weapons confiscated, their confidence shattered. Human operators maintained watch positions, alert but not aggressive. Colonists emerged from shelters, reuniting with family members, checking on neighbors, beginning the slow process of returning to normal life. Commander Thrax sat in the colony's main meeting hall, his massive form confined to a reinforced chair. His armor had been removed, leaving him in simple underclothing that made him look less imposing. Two human guards stood nearby, weapons ready but pointed at the ground. They showed no fear, no hatred, just professional vigilance. The door opened and Maria Chen entered, carrying a tray with water and basic food. She set it on the table in front of Thrax and took a seat across from him. The Dravik commander stared at her, trying to understand how this had all gone so wrong. "You should eat something," Maria said simply. "The water is safe for your biology. The food is basic protein rations, compatible with Dravik digestive systems. We occupied your home. You and your warriors will face consequences for your actions, but those consequences will be determined by proper authorities, not by mob justice." What happened here was not about military superiority or advanced technology. Captain Okonkwo and her team came with equipment not much better than what you possess. They succeeded because of something you failed to recognize. "Humans do not abandon their own," Maria said. "When you took those 6 colonists hostage, you did not just threaten them. You threatened their families, their community, and by extension, every human who heard about it." Captain Okonkwo and her team traveled for days across star systems. They risked their lives for people most of them had never met. That is what you faced, not superior strength, but absolute commitment to protecting our people. Your ambassador Valera tried to warn us. We did not listen. You made the mistake that many have made throughout human history. You confused peaceful intentions with inability to fight. We have fought terrible wars among ourselves. We have created weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We know the cost of violence, the weight of it. That knowledge makes us prefer peace. But it also means we understand conflict in ways you cannot imagine. Sarah pulled up a chair and sat down, studying Thrax with calm assessment. "Your warriors are being treated well," Sarah informed him. "Medical teams have checked everyone. Minor injuries only, mostly from stun weapons. All will make full recoveries." If this had become a situation where colonist lives were immediately threatened, we would have used them. But you and your warriors never had the chance to escalate to that point. I want you to watch them, understand what happened." He saw the careful timing, the backup plans, the constant communication between teams. He saw colonists with no military training following complex instructions, working together toward a common goal. What struck him most was the moment when one of his warriors, wounded and disoriented, was immediately treated by a human medic. The human showed no hesitation, no desire for revenge, just professional care for an injured being. "You see," Sarah said quietly. "This is what humans do. We fight when we must, but we do not become monsters in the process. We maintain our principles even in conflict." They had watched the operation remotely, and the footage had already spread through diplomatic channels. What had seemed like a minor incident had become a defining moment in human-galactic relations. Valera met with Maria, Sarah, and the colony leadership in the administrative building. "The council wishes to offer formal apologies," she said. "Commander Thrax and his warriors will be transported to face justice under galactic law. The Dravic government has already disavowed his actions. Your species will be granted full protection under galactic law, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. The Council would like to establish formal security cooperation agreements with Earth. Many species could learn from your approach. We came here not to demonstrate power, but to protect our people. That will always be our priority." Commander Thrax, awaiting trial, was brought to make a public statement. He stood before the assembled crowd, his massive form diminished by circumstances. "I came here believing that physical strength determined superiority," he said, his voice carrying through translation systems. "I learned that true strength lies in principles, in loyalty, in the willingness to fight for what matters while maintaining one's values. Ambassador Valera tried to warn me. She showed me evidence of human capability. I dismissed it because I could not imagine being so different from my own people. You treated my warriors with dignity even after we threatened your families. I do not expect forgiveness, but I offer my deepest respect." Trade agreements were signed, diplomatic relationships established, security partnerships formed. As the delegates departed, Maria stood with Sarah on the colony's observation deck, watching ships leave orbit. "Do you think they finally understand?" Maria asked. "Some do," Sarah replied. "Others will need more time, but we have made our position clear. We want peace, but we are not helpless. We will protect our own. We will stand up for what is right. And we will do it without becoming the monsters we fight against. That is what true understanding requires, not assumptions based on appearance, but genuine effort to know who someone is." Families shared meals in common areas. Life continued, marked but not broken by what had happened. In orbit, Ambassador Valera prepared her final report for the Galactic Council. She wrote about the importance of understanding, of listening to warnings, of recognizing that strength comes in many forms. She wrote about humans, their capacity for both peace and war, their loyalty to each other, their ability to maintain principles even in conflict. Her final paragraph read, "Humans are not dangerous because they are aggressive. They are dangerous because they care deeply, because they protect fiercely, because they refuse to abandon their values even when facing superior force. Any species that respects these qualities will find humanity to be a steadfast friend. Any species that ignores them will learn, as the Dravic did, why you should never provoke those who have nothing left to lose except each other." Humanity had taken its place in the galactic community not through conquest or submission, but by being exactly what they were, beings who understood both the cost of violence and the necessity of standing firm when principles demanded it. It was, Valera thought, exactly the lesson the galaxy needed to learn.